Hello again. All right, today we're going to talk about digestion. So this will be one of our last things that we have to talk about for anatomy and physiology. So digestion is always a good thing to talk about because we all like to eat, right? And so everybody wants to know where does that food go and how do we take care of it? So what is the role of the digestive system? Well, basically, you should probably already know this. It's to basically have a way to bring in food and water. So intake of food and water. You've got to break that down. So the food is going to be made up of molecules. Think about fats and sugars and things like that. We've got to break down these nutrients because digestion, the word digest literally means to dissolve. So we're going to break down the food into its molecules that we can actually use and absorb. So we're going to take this food, ingest it into our bodies, break it down into the smallest components, absorb that into our blood so they can be carried throughout our body. And then we're going to eliminate any indigestible pieces as waste or feces. There's also going to be some other things that our body gets rid of through our digestive system. If you think back to blood, and we talked about remember bilirubin, we talked about how you get rid of old erythrocyte parts through your feces. So it's a way to eliminate waste out of your body as well. So taking in food and water, breaking it down, absorbing it so that we can use it, and then getting rid of any waste products. That's the job of the digestive system. When we think of the digestive system, we look at the anatomy. We divide it into two sets of organs. One set is called the alimentary canal. It's also called the GI tract or gastrointestinal tract. So if you go to a GI doctor, that's a gastrointestinal doctor. And your accessory organs. So the alimentary canal is one long continuous tube and all the organs that make up that long tube. You literally could snake a wire through this tube, go in the mouth and come out the anus, and it would all be one long continuous tube. So it goes from the mouth to the back of the throat, the pharynx, down the esophagus, into the stomach, through the small and large intestine, and out the anus. One long continuous tube. Other organs are going to help or accessorize or be an accessory to this tract, and that includes the salivary glands, the teeth, the tongue, the gallbladder, the liver, and the pancreas. I need to go back and change that. So it says pancreas here. All right, I'll do that when you get your copy of the PowerPoint. Okay, so this is what this looks like. You have your long alimentary canal, so I can take a piece of food and trace it all the way through the mouth, the esophagus, into the stomach, through the small intestine, through the large intestine, and out through the anus. All the other organs are going to be the accessory organs or helper organs. They provide something, many times an enzyme that allows for breakdown of nutrients, like the salivary glands and the gallbladder and the pancreas and the liver. These all provide something for to aid in digestion or to aid in dissolving those nutrients. Okay, and we'll have another lab or another video that's just on the lab and identifying these structures. You have three sets of salivary glands that all are playing a role in making saliva. You have your liver, your gallbladder, stomach, and pancreas. So hopefully you guys recognize these organs from your first anatomy. We'll go into more detail about them later. Remember, our small intestine is broken down into three sections: a duodenum, a jejunum, and an ileum. And then the large intestine is broken down into the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, and sigmoid colon. But we'll do that again in lab. I just want to make sure that you guys at least have seen it if I mention something, and you'll have a reference of where to go back and find out where these things are. So when we talk about digestion, it's actually 6 processes that are going on as we're breaking down this food and moving it through our system. You have ingestion, which is just to take the food in, so basically to eat and drink, so bring it into your body. We have to propel it or move it through the system, so propulsion, that's just going to move it through the system from the mouth to the anus. There's mechanical breakdown, so think churning and stirring and grinding. There's chemical breakdown. That's the digestion, that's the actual breaking down using enzymes. There's absorption, taking that the nutrients from the small and large, or usually from the small intestine, into the bloodstream so that your body can use it. And then defecation, which is the elimination of the waste. Now, I just really think this is a cool picture because it shows the entire process and all the organs and what their role is as far as these 6 activities: ingestion, propulsion, breakdown, digestion, absorption, and defecation. And so obviously you guys can read, so I'm not going to belabor the point. You guys can look and see what's going on. But let's just look, for example, at one of these. So ingestion, the only place that you get food in is your mouth, okay? So unless you're on a feeding tube, the only organ that's involved in ingestion would be the mouth, okay? Again, so feeding tubes aside, or maybe an IV, all right? But once it goes into the mouth, it's going to start to be broken down. And it's broken down in 2 different ways. There's going to be some mechanical breakdown and some digestion. There's going to be some saliva added here, and you're chewing, you're grinding, and saliva is going to be added, and that's going to start the initial breakdown of the food. You'll see this green line is going to have a wavy line being propelled through the system down to the stomach, and you can see we're back to this purple line again where we're mechanically breaking down the food. We're starting to add some enzymes again to the stomach. There's things like enzymes and hydrochloric acid. That's going to be breaking down, digesting that food. As it's moving through the small intestine, you're still going to get propulsion. You're going to get that mechanical grinding as it's moving through. You're going to get that enzymatic digestion as it's moving through. And you're also going to start to see in the small intestine where things are being taken out or absorbed from the small intestine into the blood and also into the lymphatic system. All right. As it gets to the large intestine, you'll notice most of the digestion has ended. There's really nothing else going on as far as breakdown, but you're still getting some absorption going on, and you're still getting propulsion through the system. So this would be one of those places where I would pull an all that apply question, so in the stomach, which of the 6 essential activities are going on? Okay. In the small intestine, which of the 6 essential activities are going on? So this is definitely a good place for all that apply. So what is digestion? Again, it's that breakdown of molecules from large molecules, which we call macromolecules, to micromolecules or monomers, to their things that are small enough to be absorbed. All right, so large molecules broken down to small molecules that you can then absorb. So example, a protein, that's a macromolecule. What would you break that down to? What monomer, what single thing could you break a protein down to? Proteins are made up of amino acids. So you would take a protein, which is the big macromolecule, and break it down to the monomers of amino acids. A lot of sugars, if you break those down, they're big, large chain carbohydrates. You can break them down to glucose. So you kind of understand how that works. That's a catabolic reaction. Remember, catabolic is to break down, anabolic is to build. So if you're a muscle person, you take anabolic steroids, that's to help you build up muscle. So digestion is catabolic, to break down. Usually it's going to require enzymes, and you've got enzymes that are inside the digestive system, the alimentary canal, and also from those accessory organs. And most of these enzymes, I never say never, because I hate when I say that in a video, I realize I've made a mistake. So typically these breakdowns are hydrolysis reactions, okay? I think they always are, but again, I'll usually go back and think, maybe not always. So enzymes, these digestive enzymes typically will cause hydrolysis, which means to break with water. So you use water to break these bonds, which is another reason, it's a good reason to drink water when you eat, because you need water present for these enzymes to work in order to break down the food. These macromolecules, some examples of these would be carbohydrates. And so this takes you back to early anatomy when we talked about chemistry way back in the first course. Just as a reminder, what carbohydrates are, these are called polysaccharides, large sugars, that are broken down into disaccharides and then monosaccharides. So this is what we can actually absorb and use. Proteins, they're going to be broken down into large polypeptides and then smaller polypeptides and then amino acids. Your lipids, your fats, your triglycerides, they're going to be broken down into monoglycerides and fatty acids. That's what we can actually absorb and use. And we even break down nucleic acids, your DNA and your RNA. And they're going to be broken down into those nucleotide bases. Remember the C and the U and the T and the A and the G and all those things we talked about with DNA and protein synthesis and all that good stuff way back. We break down DNA. This is one of the reasons when people are talking about GMOs and they kind of get freaked out that somehow you're going to incorporate this foreign DNA into your body if you eat a GMO product. No, you eat DNA every day. If you eat an apple, you're eating DNA. Anything that's made up of cells, which is anything that you eat, like apples and oranges and steak and bacon, all of that's made up of cells, and all cells have a nucleus, and all nuclei have DNA. So you're eating DNA all the time, and you haven't turned into an apple yet. If you've eaten an apple every day, I don't think anybody out there is an apple yet, because we have these enzymes that break down DNA and RNA. So GMOs, there's a lot of stuff going on about GMOs, the good, the bad, the ugly. One thing I can tell you for sure, you're not going to turn into a GMO because your body will take care of that DNA. So what are the goals that we want to talk about this unit? We want to basically be able to trace food through the digestive system. So think about a question. How would food go from the mouth to the anus, and what processes are going to be involved in that? Where is digestion taking place? Where is mechanical breakdown taking place? Where is propulsion taking place? And as that food is traveling through the system, what enzymes are playing a role in breaking things down? Okay, so we want to trace the path of food through the system and also describe how we're breaking down those nutrients. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of go from the mouth to the stomach to the small intestine to the large intestine and talk about what's going on in each one of these areas. Okay, so that was your introduction, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.